Hey YouTube, it's Sunday.
Why are you such a copycat?
So it's still October, and as promised, I'm going to be doing some more spooky videos, and I remembered earlier a story. Honestly, I can't believe I have not told it in its entirety yet. I have mentioned parts of it, I feel like, but I've never told the whole story on here, and it's a story worth telling. Okay, so I've definitely talked about the place that I lived. It's actually the same place I lived whenever I did my first ever story time, the I Almost Got Murdered story. It was just the two of us who lived there and my cat. I actually had to move there kind of like last minute and like as an emergency thing because of the apartment before that with the crazy people, and I have stories to tell on them. What did I call him in that story time? Hang on, I have to check my YouTube real quick. Okay, his name was Alfred. I need to go through all my story times and like make a list of all the people who like I've named and what I've named them, but I haven't done that yet because I'm lazy. So anyway, so yeah, so this story took place when I was living with him, and I guess I should stop talking in my like la 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 voice because this is a scary story. And when I say that, I don't mean like, ooh, scary story, no, like this was actually terrifying. So like I said, whenever I first moved into this apartment, nothing paranormal happened ever. I know I have a history of living in haunted places, but this one was not one of them, at least not at the time. Now, as a lot of you guys know, actually I'm not sure how many of you know, but I've talked about it really recently, like the video that I uploaded today. I practice witchcraft. So that's the thing that I do, and it made it feel a little bit weird at first, but we just kind of like talked about it and we were like, it's okay, I'll do it in my room and nothing else, and like that'll be fine. But the place that we lived had a lot of woods behind the apartment, and so I decided to go out there one time. I had actually been exploring the woods behind our apartment a lot around this time. I just kind of felt like getting back in the woods. Like I grew up actually with woods behind my house, and so I was like, yeah, like I'm gonna go have fun, explore the woods. And so one time I thought it would be a good idea to go out and do a little bit of my practice out in the woods. Casting like circles and stuff like that outside had always been something that I wanted to do. So I went out to the woods, complete seclusion, and I just walked until I found a place that would be good for it. Eventually I found a clearing of some sort, and it was really cool. I set up everything and got ready. There was even like a backwards 3 in the trees above me, and like if you don't believe me, I literally have a picture because it was so insane. And like looking back, I probably should have been like, that's not a good sign because it's backwards, but I didn't. I was just like, oh well, cool, that must be where I need to go then. I don't know. That was the place that I chose. It was a nice cool little flat area. There was a little creek in front of me, and so this place like was literally perfect. So I laid out my stuff, I cleared the little area, like got all the leaves out and everything, and I got ready, and then I put all my candles out, lit them, did the thing, cast the circle, everything else. But it was a crazy experience. Like it was so cool. I really loved it. I was seeing like faces in the trees, which someone told me later may or may not have been like fae or something like that, and I don't know, like that was really cool. So I'm like loving this experience. I did not want to go back inside, but it was starting to get dark. It was like already dusk at that point, so I was just kind of like waiting it out. I was like, it's fine if it's like too dark whenever I come back in. Like I have my phone which has a little flashlight on it, like it'll be fine. If any of you guys have iPhones, you know how bright those flashlights can be. Like, they're fine. So I'm just sitting there just kind of meditating in the middle of it. My circle had not been broken. And then I heard what sounded like footsteps. It wasn't like fall or anything like that. I think it was like January or February, something like that, but there were leaves everywhere, just like dead leaves just all over the forest floor. So any kind of step or noise or anything like that was like audible because of the leaves, because when you step on crunchy leaves there's a sound. So it sounded like there were like human footsteps, and it also sounded like there was like a little so it sounded like there was like a human walking, and it also sounded like there was like a little animal walking beside them. And okay, again, ghosts are a thing, and I just kind of assumed it was a ghost, but for some reason I got way more scared than made sense. Like I just got really scared, like gut instinct, like run away right now. So I got up, I closed my circle, and it was still like, it was getting dark, okay, but I could still see pretty well. Now granted, I had 4 candles lit, but they weren't giving off that much light essentially. Like it wasn't enough to make it look like I could still kind of see, and it looked like I could still kind of see. The second that I closed my circle, blew out the candles, I couldn't see anything. Like to the point putting my hand right in front of my face was still hard to see, like that dark, and it just was not like that before I closed it. So I packed up as fast as I could, and like someone was watching me. Like I just felt eyes on me, and it just like I could pinpoint exactly where it was too. You know, like whenever it's something like strong like that and you're like, someone's watching me and they're right there. you know? That's what it felt like, and I just was not having any of it. I used my phone flashlight, but I could still barely see. I swear to you, I could hardly see the ground. Like, this darkness didn't feel like it was just like, oh, it's nighttime, like, I mean, I couldn't see anything. I don't know, it didn't make any sense. Like, it was too dark, I couldn't see, and I was really scared, and it felt like I had to walk a lot longer than I had to get back. It was woods right behind an apartment, so there weren't a crazy amount of woods. Like, there were houses right around and stuff. Like, yeah, it was like a semi-rural area, but like, it was still just like, you know, houses and stuff, and then woods in the middle. Like, it wasn't like a crazy maze, and I've been walking for an hour to get to this place, but it felt like I had to walk an hour to get back, and I couldn't figure out where I was. Usually there's like a little path where I like came out of my apartment and went this way, and then went like behind some brush and like went into the woods down a path. I couldn't find that path, and I came out on the other side, like apartment here, this is the path. I came out over here and had to go back inside. By the time I saw the apartment, I broke out into a run. Yes, I had glass candles in my bag. I had herbs in little glass jars in my bag. They were clinking together. I didn't care. I was terrified, and like, whatever it was definitely still following me, and it was scary. So I get back inside and I'm like, okay, now I'm good, I'm safe, like I'm in my house, and especially by the time I got up into my room, it had been well warded and everything else because I know how to protect myself in situations like this usually. So yeah, my room was my safe place. I got up there and I was like, I'm good, nothing else to worry about. So I had started like seeing things out of the corner of my eye. Like, I remember specifically there was one time I was like standing in the kitchen and I just felt like someone was standing beside me, and I started to turn a little bit and I saw what looked like a girl with like short hair that was like kind of blonde and a little messy just standing there, and then as soon as I looked she was just gone, like there was no one there. But I assumed that was why weird things have been happening. I know in one of the past videos where I talked about ghost experience and stuff like that, I joked about the soap being moved around in that apartment, and yeah, that was a thing. Like, the soap in the bathroom that was downstairs kept disappearing from that sink and appearing at the kitchen sink, which didn't make any sense. We never used that bar of soap, and it was just little stuff, you know, like actually that same bathroom door would just open, you know, and then it would just stay open. I would go downstairs and I would shut it, and then I would like walk away and come back and it'd just be open again, and things like that. And it got to the point, I mean, it was harmless stuff, it felt like, you know, so I would make jokes. I'd be like, oh hey ghosty, how you doing today? Like, I'd just come back in, just shut the door, put the soap back, whatever, you know, it was not a big deal. Until my cat started acting weird. Actually, right around this time, there was a day that Alfred came downstairs while I think I was baking, and he came downstairs and started asking if I had seen anything weird happening lately. Now, at this point, we hadn't talked about this because we didn't talk a lot, because there was a thing that happened the first night I moved in that I'm not going to talk about right now, but for that reason I was kind of uncomfortable around Alfred and I didn't want to talk to him. So I would hide out in my room until I knew he was gone, and then I would come downstairs and do stuff. It was very rare that he was downstairs and I knew he was downstairs and I would come down there anyway to like get food or do whatever. Like, it was a thing. So we didn't really talk much, and we hadn't talked about the ghosts at all until this point. So I was baking, and like I said, he ran downstairs and was like, hey, and then just kind of stood there in the kitchen and was like, so have you seen anything weird lately? And I was like, actually, yeah. Because I was waiting on my cookies to bake, I couldn't escape, so I was like, why not? I guess we'll talk about this because it's weird that he's asking me this now, which means I'm not the only one seeing it, so I guess it's something we should talk about. So I told him about the soap and the door, and he was like, no, yeah, I've noticed that too. But then he told me something a little bit more creepy. Now keep in mind, Alfred is not entirely credible. He was an alcoholic, actually still is, I'm pretty sure, but he was like a full-blown alcoholic, like just drunk all the time. So he, the night before, had heard 3 knocks on our back door, which is important because, like I said, the woods were behind the apartment. When I came back in from the apartment, I came in through the back door. But the thing is, his room was the one that was above that door. My room was on the front side and his was on the back side, just on the 2nd floor. So apparently when he, I think, was in his room, he heard 3 knocks that sounded like it came from the back door. And even then I knew that that was like a creepy omen. It's supposed to be a bad thing because it's like mocking the Holy Trinity, but like, I'm not a Christian, but I do use the triquetra, which is still like, you know, I used to use it for like the Holy Trinity. It's like the power of 3 thing. Hello, wind. Okay, I'll wait. And then there was the backwards 3 in the trees, which was just weird enough. And this is about when I started to connect the two, because I wasn't sure before if that's where that ghost had come from, but it was starting to kind of click in my head. Anyway, that just was really weird. He said it was like close to 3 a.m. but we weren't entirely sure. We're both insomniacs, so we're both up just like really late. But regardless, it was like in the middle of the night, you know, 3 knocks on the back door, and whenever he went downstairs there was no one there. That's not the only weird thing that happened. Apparently he had also woken up in the middle of the night to 2 shadows in his room, like laughing and taunting him. I don't remember exactly what he told me he saw, or I would like relay that, but it was just like really weird, bizarre, dark stuff. And again, sleep paralysis is a thing. I don't know if he's ever had that or not. He's never said if he had, but he was an alcoholic and he had woken up from it. So again, not totally credible, but still very creepy to hear about. So we talked about this and we were kind of getting really freaked out. And like I said, he was not comfortable with my witchcraft at all. And that means even like sage he was weird about. He was weird about runes. Like I use algae, it's a Celtic protective rune, and I use it on like everything, and he was weird about that. And then I started kind of noticing that Danny had been acting really strange. Now I'd noticed it a little bit, but it's also just kind of like cats are weird, you know? I knew that there was like a ghost just kind of chilling, so I wasn't sure. But Danny had been acting weird. She had been on edge. She would stare at my closet door, just sit in front of it and just stare, and it was really creepy. She would jump up on the wall, like not even like trying to get anything. She would just like be staring at the wall and then jump up against the wall and slide back down and then keep staring at it, and then jump up against the wall and slide back down and keep staring at it. Like it was really weird, and there was not a bug on the wall because I looked like it. I knew it was really weird behavior, and I was just trying to explain it away because that's odd. But okay, this is a better angle. I'm gonna continue the story now, sorry. Something else that happened, I have a protection charm that I made a while back. It was a little metal charm about that big. It was a little seahorse, and I'd like put charms on it like protect Annie, keep her safe, keep her happy, all of that stuff. And then I had black thread, like sewing thread, and I looped it in that and on her collar over and over and over and over and over again. I swear to you, I used almost the entire little roll, and it was a new roll because I don't sew and I had a lot of sewing materials that people gave me when I was growing up. But I literally used up almost the entire roll just wrapping it around and around and around and around and around. Like it was secure. And no, Danny, why are you crying? That's creepy and it scared the shit out of me. Yeah, and she had also had it for a while, like since the apartment before that, around October-ish actually. We had never had issues with it falling off before until things started happening. And then that charm kept falling off of her thing, off of her collar. Like I would see her and it'd just be kind of dangling by like one little strand, just kind of waving. And like sometimes I would find it on the floor, like, and I would just try and rewrap it. And it got to the point I had to give up. You know, I couldn't just keep attaching it. I was running out of thread to tie it on there with. And that's also like just a big red flag. Like if something protective that you're doing is falling off constantly, it's a thing. So yeah, it was just really weird behavior that Danny was exhibiting. I was getting really nervous about it, and it was just odd. Like, I know my cat, and it was weird, and especially whenever he started telling me all this creepy stuff, I kind of put it together and was like, this isn't okay. It also messed with the lights a lot of the time, which I forgot to mention. Like, it did doors, it did stuff like that, moved the soap around, and it also messed with the lights. Like, I would turn off a light in the bathroom and it'd be on again, or like the opposite would happen, you know, like lights in the kitchen. It was usually downstairs, and it usually messed with the kitchen or the bathroom. There were times that I swear in the middle of the night I heard noises at my door, like sounded like someone just kind of flicked it or like tapped it once. I never heard like 3 knocks on my door, which is good probably, but it was weird. So again, we're talking about all this creepy stuff, and eventually I tell him that I know he's not really super comfortable with it, but I really think I need to sage the whole place. So after this conversation, I decided to take the big stick of chalk that I had in my room, and I kind of just like put my energy into it. I went extra as fuck with this. On all 4 of my walls in my bedroom, and it wasn't like white walls either, like you could see the chalk, it was like beige or something like that. I drew the symbol for algae, like that rune, the protective rune that I use. I drew it literally like half the size of me on every single wall, on every single, like the top of my window and my door and my closet doors. And then I asked Alfred if he would be okay with me drawing it above the front and the back doors. It took him a little bit of time, because he was really weird about runes and everything like that, he, I believe was a Christian, and so was just kind of weird about the whole thing, which it's a common thing with Christians. It's stigmatized that like all of this stuff is weird and evil, which it's not, but I'm not gonna get into that here because this isn't my witchy channel. But regardless, after a while, he finally agreed to let me put runes up. So we were both still feeling really weird, and the runes didn't feel like they had helped really. Nothing had changed, obviously. I mean, it was already in the house, but it was just kind of like, you know, like keep anything unwanted out, but we hadn't really flushed anything out yet because he hadn't let me sage. And then something really weird happened. We were talking in the kitchen and saying all this, like, you know, we're still feeling weird, Danny's still acting really, really crazy, and we're just, it's time to do something. So he had finally agreed to let me sage the place. So we didn't do it that night, but we had agreed to cleanse the house the next night. So I went back up to my room, you know, and so at about 3 a.m. I decided that I wanted to do a circle. Also, you know, 3 a.m. is like the witching hour, and it was like, I just felt like it, okay? And again, my room was heavily warded at this point. I had the runes everywhere. I saged my room just about every single day at this point, which you're not supposed to have to do it that much, but I felt like we were under attack, and so I just kept cleansing and kept doing shit. Like I was like making it my place. I also had this like powder that I had made. I can't remember exactly what it was called, but just like a banishment powder, essentially, like setting my borders, and I would like take it and flick it like at the door and at the window, like you stay out, like this is my space. And again, it had been working pretty well, and so I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. My room is my one safe space from everything here, so I'm gonna do this in my room. So I set it up and I cast it, and everything was going just fine. And then the more that I kind of like just tried to sit there and meditate inside the circle, the more I felt like someone was watching me from right outside of it. And again, things had been happening outside of my room and in the rest of the house, but it hadn't been happening in my room. So I'm in the circle, and I got kind of the same feeling that I had gotten when I was out in the woods and I heard those footsteps, like just way too scared for no reason. And I had never felt like that in my room before, ever, like ever. So I closed out my circle because I didn't want to risk breaking it or anything like that. Danny was acting weird, of course. She seemed like really scared, more crazy than normal, like distracting me also from everything. Anyway, yeah, so I closed it out, I cleaned everything up, and I turned the light on. God, it still gives me chills to this day. I turned the light on, and all of my runes were broken. The chalk that I had written, it was like, you know, all over the wall. It looked literally like someone had taken their finger and wiped through it, like just a little line. Like I had a little chalkboard that was hanging up on one part of my wall, and I had drawn it on there too, and it was just smudged across. Like every single one of them were broken. I had drawn one in pencil above my door, because every time I drew one above the door, by the way, I didn't use the chalk, I used a little pencil, and it was just gone as if it had never been there before. And I mean, I started crying. Like, I was terrified. Like, Alfred hadn't been in my room. It's not like Danny got up and went across it, and like I said, it was neat. So I immediately redrew everything, saged my room, was freaking out, and I just kind of hid out in there. Like, I probably should have like left the room at that point because it wasn't safe anymore, but I was too scared. I just kind of hid in my room. I waited in my room for about an hour until I had to go to the bathroom so bad I couldn't hold it anymore. And like I said, there was a bathroom downstairs that the ghost messed with all the time. You know, the door was open and the door was closed, like the light on and off, the soap, you know. But there was also a bathroom right in between our two rooms upstairs. So up the stairs, it was literally just his room, my room, and the bathroom, and like the stairs were here, and yeah. And I slipped out of my room to just jump in the bathroom, go pee, and then run right back in my room. But when I opened the door to the bathroom, it smelled like shit. And when I say shit, I don't mean like, oh, this stinks. No, it literally smelled like human shit. And first thought was like, oh, Alfred must have like forgotten to flush or something. Like he's probably just drunk again, because what else is new? So I just kind of took a breath, held my breath, and then turned the light on. And I was just gonna go walk to the toilet, and instead I looked to my right, and in the sink was a pile of shit. It was too big to be Danny's. It literally looked like human shit, and it was not mine, and it was not there before I had cast the circle and my warding had been broken. So again, my first thought was like, Alfred must have done this from being drunk or something. Like, that's insane, but that's probably what happened, because how else would this get here? So again, instead of really doing much of anything, I just ran back in my room. I was pissed off because I was like, in the midst of all of this, like, I'm terrified and I'm stressed and all of this, and then he just gets so drunk that he shits in the sink. Like, are you serious right now? Like, that's ridiculous. Like, that shouldn't happen ever, but especially that it happened right in that moment when I was so terrified. So I sit on my bed, I pull up my phone, and I immediately text him like, yo, did you fucking shit in the sink? And then he texts me back, no, I thought the cat had. Apparently he had come out at some point while I was in my room and used the bathroom, and I just hadn't noticed and seen it and thought that it was my cat. And I told him, no, like, it's way too big to be my cat's, like, that's the size of human shit. And he said, well, yeah, that's kind of what I thought, but I mean, it didn't make sense otherwise. I was like, no, I know it doesn't make any sense. And so then he comes to my door, he knocks on it, so I open it, and I'm like in tears, like just horrified at this point, because again, like, how is all of this happening? This was so scary. We look at it again, like, yeah, no, there's no way that came out of her body. It didn't come out of mine, and he's swearing up and down it's not his, and he's like also terrified. So, okay, so neither of us put it there. We're the only two who live here. We're the only two with access to this house. Neither of us had had anyone over. No one had been there, and it wasn't there before I went in my room and cast my circle. So immediately I'm like, okay, no, this has got to stop. Like, we are not waiting until tomorrow. I'm going to get my sage right now. We're going downstairs. We're going to cleanse the place. And he immediately agreed, because again, he was freaked out. And that's also kind of how I just know myself that that wasn't him. Like, with everything else, I can kind of be like, well, he wasn't really credible, so like, it may have been him, it may have not been him, I don't know, maybe he made this up, whatever, but that, like, there's no way. Like, the look in his eyes, like, he was terrified, and like, so was I. Like, he's heard 3 knocks at the back door. All of my wards have been broken while I was casting a circle, and my cat's been acting weird, and now human shit appears in our sink right after we're talking about cleansing the house. Like, it just was not good. So he goes downstairs, and I grab my sage and my lighter. Usually what I do is first I sage myself, and then Alfred didn't want to be saged, and that was fine. But I was gonna sage Danny too. I know it sounds weird, but Danny's my familiar, and she loves being saged. Like, I swear, every time, like, from the first time I brought it out, she wasn't even nervous around it. She was like, do me. Like, I will bring the stick close to her, and she will sit and do that and just kind of wait, and like, she'll close her eyes, but she'll be sitting completely still, and she'll just be so happy, and like, when she sees me saging, she gets really excited. That's not what happened. So I brought it toward her, and I tried to sage her, and she literally, I swear to you, I had never ever heard my cat growl before, ever. Like, I rescued her off the streets when I first got her, and like, then we moved into a place with a bunch of little puppies who tried to eat her all the time, and she never once growled at them. She hissed once or twice, but that was rare. But she had never growled before, ever. And then I brought the sage stick close to her, and she straight up raised her hackles and growled at me. I tried to sage her anyway, and she hissed and ran, and I literally had to go chase her down. So I pick her up, and I like hold her while I'm saging her, and she's fighting me the whole time and like squirming, but I don't care. Like, I did it anyway, and then I put her down. So I just start saging the rest of the place. I start with the front door, and I do everything downstairs, getting every little nook and cranny. I pay extra attention to the bathroom where the ghost has been, and the whole time I'm envisioning, like, get out, this is our safe place, get out. I go upstairs, and I sage my room, and I sage the bathroom with the shit in the sink. Again, Alfred didn't want me to touch his room, and that's fine, so I didn't, but still, I saged everywhere else. I came back downstairs, and just to be safe, I wanted to sage Danny again, because even after the first time, she didn't seem like, you know, like, it just seemed like she needed another one. So again, I picked her up, and I saged her, and she was still squirming and uncomfortable, but she didn't growl, she didn't hiss. It wasn't like a violent reaction, she just seemed like she was not into it, but she let me. Now, I think right now is when it's kind of important to mention that something I talked about in last week's video, the paranormal tag, where I was talking about seeing like a little ghost cat or something just like out of the corner of my eye often, like that's about when this stuff happened. It didn't start after this. It started right when all the other ghost stuff started happening, which is why it seemed really important to me that when I was in the circle, I heard human footsteps and animal footsteps. So then it just kind of became my working theory. I still have no idea if this is true or not. I don't know what this thing was. I don't know if it was just pretending to be like some like girl and her cat or what, but my theory, because again, none of this started until I cast that circle outside right under that backwards 3. And by the way, like a day or two later, I was exploring the woods and I could not find that place again. I never found it again, and I tried so hard. I scoured those woods. I went out and walked for like 2-3 hours just exploring all of that area. I could not for the life of me find that one place again. I could not. And then when I was exploring, I did find a little stone angel and some flowers, and it looked like a little memorial spot, and I never found anything in the news on it. I don't know what it meant, if it meant anything at all. I actually have a picture of it somewhere up on my Instagram. If I can find it, I'll put it on the screen now. So my working theory was that I went to a place that I wasn't supposed to find at all. It was dusk and I happened to find that backwards 3, which again, I have pictures, like it was there. And it was just such a perfect spot. I remember thinking like, this is so perfect to cast a circle on. Like, I'm gonna start coming back here. Like, it was such a perfect spot. I'm thinking I wasn't supposed to find that place. I'm thinking it was a sacred space for maybe a dead witch or something, or maybe somewhere she used to practice or whatever. I really don't know. That was her sacred space. That's where she practiced. And then I went in and just kind of did my practice and basically made her feel like I had interrupted her sacred space and just kind of disrespected it and just used it. And so in order to get revenge, she was gonna come haunt the fuck out of me. Now, that made sense until things started getting really dark. After that, I don't know if that's really the case. Maybe she practiced like dark witchcraft or something like that. I don't know. It felt darker though than just some dead girl who used to practice magic. So I don't know. Now, after I staged the place fully, we didn't have too many more crazy experiences. Again, occasionally a door would be open or a light would be on that wasn't supposed to be. You know, I would still feel like eyes on me, like going down into the kitchen or into that downstairs bathroom especially. Like, I refused to use that bathroom if I could help it, because it just, you know, it was kind of spooky at that point. And like, by the time that all of this other stuff happened, I was a little bit too nervous. I probably got it out. But yeah, like I said, nothing too crazy happened after that at that place, paranormal at least. Also, for the record, Danny is back to loving saging. Whenever I pull out the sage stick once again, she sits patiently or stands patiently, props up her little head and just kind of smiles. I don't know what that word was supposed to be. So yeah, okay. I feel like I've rambled on enough. That's the end of this story time. I have some more paranormal story times. Usually not as like intense and horrifying as this one. Like, I do have some like really weird ones, and if you guys are interested, I would be more than happy to upload one. I am gonna upload a story time semi-soon about the time that I saw a fairy. Yeah, so that's gonna be all for now. I hope you guys really liked this story time, or at least enjoyed it. Not necessarily liked it, but were like entertained. I don't know. And yeah, thank God that thing isn't following me around, because there are a few ghosts following me around, and that's not one of them. Okay, anyway, yeah, my battery is dying, because that's a common theme with me lately, and so yeah, I'm gonna go. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you so much. Stay spooky, MeowChiatos, and seriously, like, put up runes and sage your room, because it's worth it. Also, to this day, I don't remember how that poop left the bathroom. Like, I assume Alfred cleaned it up, I don't know, but it just kind of was gone after a while. He probably cleaned it up and told me about it, but I don't remember. All I remember is being terrified about it. I actually forgot it happened. Completely forgot it happened until I was going over my witchy vlog lately. Recently, why do I keep trying to, recently, not lately, recently, and I found like a post about it and I was like, oh my God, that's true. That happened. I forgot, and I need to tell the story. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching. I love you, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. If you have not, go follow me on all my social media, and subscribe to my witchy channel, because I'm going to start posting magical things on there, and some spoopy things, and I'm really excited. Also, look out for Halloween, because that's coming. I'm going to post every single day in the 7 days up until Halloween. I should really stop rambling before my battery dies. Thanks so much for watching. I love you, and I will see you next week. Sorry for like the up close and then the far away, like the shift that kind of happened there. Whenever I first set it up, I was like, yeah, I don't like this angle, it's too close, like it needs to back up, but you know, it was in front of the little bed setup thing that we've got going on, and I was like, yeah, I'll just leave it there. I also meant to light candles, but I didn't. And then I was like, well, why not just move it back? Because this looks weird, and like, how am I gonna get a thumbnail if it's like right on my face? Come here, come here, come here, come here. I need you for a thumbnail. Come here. Come here. I love you. Girl.